A stupid face on whilst you're waiting.
Oh, amazing. So, welcome everyone to Life is a Mess. So, let's face it, life can get really messy. You've got kids running around the house, leaving toys out everywhere in their wake. You may also have a partner who sometimes may be like a kid themselves. So you've got an extra kid. And then you've also had a full day at work. So the last thing on your mind is likely to be wanting to clean the house. Really, you just want to sit down, chill, watch some TV, maybe have a glass of wine, depending on how the day's gone. And the problem with this is that, if you don't clean, it can quite easily snowball and get out of hand. One day of cleaning could then turn into a week, which could then turn into a month, and maybe a couple of months further down the line, and maybe even a year. And before you know it, what once was, a little molehill becomes a mountain, and it's completely overwhelming to even consider where to start. So if this is you, please don't worry, because after the chat today with Rachel, you will be going away with tips on how to prevent that from happening, and also what to do if you do find yourself or you're clean and snowballing and getting out of hand. So before we get started in the chat and before I welcome Rachel, I would love for anyone who's watching live, or if you are catching the replay, to say hi. I'd love to know who's watching. And I can see Graham's already on it. So hi, Graham. And also, if you do have any questions throughout the talk, please do comment, and we'll be answering them as we go along. So please do join in the conversation. And without further ado, I would love to welcome on the special guest speaker, the lovely Rachel Smith.
So special.
You are. So if you don't already know Rachel empowers people to take back control of their homes. So whether you've got too much stuff or simply no headspace to make decisions, Rachel will help you create that sanctuary that you crave and that you deserve. And I just love that introduction. You embody it all. Like, it's so nice.
It's been carefully honed over many months.
Going to all the networking events.
Yeah, absolutely. I got that elevator pitch down to a T.
But I will say as well, like, if you don't already follow Rachel, please do, because her content is really great. Like, she's always sharing tips, and I'm also waiting on tenterhooks to see some of the house transformations that you've been doing.
Some interesting ones.
Definitely. So I'm eager to see them. And also, if you want to see something very cute on a daily basis sometimes as well, you also have the most adorable puppy.
That Keith gets a mention.
Yeah.
People are saying I need to use Keith more. So maybe I do.
But yeah, welcome again. It's lovely to have you on, and I'm super excited to get into this conversation, to talk about mess and life.
Yeah, because life is a mess.
Yes, it is. So I thought it'd be really great to start with defining what is mess, because thinking about it, for me, I think it can be really subjective and it can vary depending on the person, on what they would class as a mess.
Absolutely.
So I'm really curious to know what you would define as mess.
As you say, yes, it is a super individual thing. It is super subjective. Some people, I've been in people's houses where they'll apologize for the place looking like a mess, and there's literally like 2 glasses on the side. And that to them is unbearable. and they really feel embarrassed about it and they need to do something about it. And then I've been in the absolute opposite, where there's people who've got rubbish up to here in their rooms and they're embarrassed because all of these people are suffering from what the stress that their surroundings is causing them. And for me, if you want to get a snapshot of somebody's mental health, then just look at their home, because whatever's in your home is in your head, and whatever's in your head is in your home. So I think that's kind of my yardstick of what mess is. It's really important to be non-judgmental and to sort of put your ideas and your thoughts to the back of your mind, because really it's not about you, it's about that person, and it's about what that person feels, and it's about how that space makes them feel and how presenting that space to other people makes them feel. So it is really, really objective, and we live in this society of comparison and this Instagram society where everything is completely unachievable and just unreal. It's unrealistic. So it's about just owning how you live, and admitting to yourself how you're living, and thinking, can I do this better? It's nothing to be ashamed of. We're all spinning a gazillion plates, and your house kind of slides down the list of priorities. But actually, your home, looking after your home, is like self-care, because we all know if you have a quick tidy up, you feel so much better.
Oh, so I can totally relate to that. Like, I started a declutter the other year, and it literally just carried on. Like, I didn't stop because I was like, oh, I feel so much better getting rid of this. It's looking at stuff and thinking, have I actually used it? Is it serving a purpose in my life? And coming back to what you said though just then about, would you say that accepting our mess could be the hardest thing for us because of the feelings that we have around it?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people just try and block it out, or you just stop seeing it, to be fair, because you're in your home every day and you're seeing it, but you don't want to admit it's there, because if you do, then you feel like you have to do something about it. And making a start is the single most difficult thing for anybody. And that's whether you've got good mental health or not. It's, nobody wants to do the tidying and the cleaning. Well, I say nobody. Some people love it. That's generally, let's talk in general terms, people don't like washing up, cleaning, like, just, it's boring. It's one of those chores. It's called a chore because it is a chore. It has to be done. And sometimes we take the easy option of not doing it, but actually that only helps us for that split second that we decide not to do it. And we're left with the consequences for quite a long time after that.
Yeah. I suppose you could easily relate it to like health habits as well. Going for the snack when you're not necessarily hungry. And if you keep on doing it, obviously it's great for the short term, that buzz that you get, that sugar rush. But then the long term is you've got potential weight gain, or again, you could start the feeling of feeling ashamed of yourself as well for going against your words. So it does, like you said, tie in a lot with mental health as well.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that bad eating habits are accelerated by trying not to do cleaning and tidying, because it's a lot easier just to go and get a snack and go and sit in a different room.
Yeah. And watch Netflix.
Absolutely. But in the back of your mind, though, it's always there. It's in your subconscious, even if you don't think it is. You're walking around with the weight of it in your mind, thinking, I haven't done that. I haven't done that. And when I walk in there, it's going to be awful.
Yeah.
So you just really, you're telling yourself stories, which we do a lot. and you're just
Yeah.
kidding yourself that this is the best thing for you to do in that moment, when actually it's not.
Yeah, I can. I mean, I definitely hold my hand up. I've done that in the past.
We
And
all
still
do
do
it.
now
We
and
all
again.
do it. We all do it. But it's whether you've got the mental capacity and the mental fortitude to go, no, hang on, I'm just going to have a word with myself and go, yeah, okay, I am going to sort this out and I'm going to do it now, because I know that if I do, I will feel so much better. It's just like it's like the thought of going to the gym, or the thought of going swimming, or any kind of exercise. You put your kit on and you're like, I just don't want to go. And then you drag yourself there. And then as soon as you've done it, you're like, yeah, bring on the day. I'm all like ready for it. I'm pumped. I'm like, whatever. I mean, it is the same. It's the same endorphins, and it's the same feeling of self-worth almost by clearing up and doing a bit of cleaning. It's the same.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that. And so, where would you say then that the mess starts with? Is that from a dip in mental health, or is that procrastination? Like, what do you see most common?
It's everyday. It's the consequences of everyday life, I'd say. Which, everybody says to me, "Oh, well, you must live in an absolute palace," and it's like, well, no, because I've got 2 kids, a husband, and a new puppy, and we all work hard, and it's impossible to keep on top of everything all the time. So you do need to be a bit kind to yourself and not expect the unrealistic. But also it's finding that balance about, if I just spend 10 minutes now, then I'm going to get so much enjoyment out of it afterwards when I go back into that room and it's all tidy and it's all done. And I'm like, that's the feeling that we're after. It's that, the dropping of the shoulders and the, oh, doesn't that look lovely? Instead of the, oh, I didn't do it. Oh, I'm so annoyed with myself. It's the 2 extremes. And why would you do that to yourself? You're putting yourself under such unnecessary stress, when actually, if you just made a superhuman effort for a small amount of time, I mean, put a timer on, literally, put a timer on, put some music on, make it as fun as possible.
Yeah.
It's not fun, but you can make it fun. So it's about just having a word with yourself and saying, right, come on, we need to do this now. Now, that's just if you've got great mental health and you're just suffering from, life in general, being busy and all the rest of it. If you are going through a period of ill mental health, or you're just not feeling great at the minute, then that's when it starts to slip away. And it starts to slip away fairly quickly. What I've realised is, as soon as it starts with the washing up and putting rubbish in the bin, as soon as every plate and utensil has been used and there are no more, that's when the problem starts. Because then the surfaces start disappearing, and then things get piled on top of other things. And then the bin is overflowing, so you just miss the bin and throw things on the floor instead. And this sounds like, it's a crazy way of living, and how can people possibly do that? But actually, it is all linked to your self-worth and your mental health, and you stop caring. And when you stop caring, the minute that you stop caring, and the minute that you stop letting people in the front door because you're ashamed of what's happened to you, because you're totally aware of it, that's when it all starts going completely awry. And it happens a lot more than you would think. And the problem for these people is that, as you said right at the beginning, a molehill becomes a mountain. And I always say it's like looking to the top of this mountain and not even being able to put your walking boots on, because the task seems so monumental that these people can't even make a start. If they could make a start, then it'd be easy because,
And
you know,
you
people
would
will
have done
say,
it.
well, just pick up a bin bag and put stuff in it. It's like, well, if it was that easy, they would have done it. It's like saying to an alcoholic, just don't have a drink.
Yeah.
It is a serious problem because it's an amalgamation of so many things, and it's, you know, a reflection of somebody's mental health. So you can't just, you know, I always thought that the word can't didn't exist because that's what I was told when I was little. There's no such word as can't. But actually, if you're suffering from poor mental health, it is a word because you physically and mentally just cannot do it.
Yeah.
And so for those people, they're often judged. They often don't feel seen. They don't feel heard by, you know, a lot of society. And so having to try to make a start to get through this is just absolutely impossible.
Yeah. And I think, you know, like you said at the beginning, it's a lot of people, if you haven't been in that position, you will think, why can't they just? And speaking from, like, I haven't got to the experience of letting the clutter overwhelm me, but definitely when I had that my sporting injury in 2019 and my mental health took a dip, like it was literally I did stop caring. I stopped caring about myself because I couldn't do this, you know, play sport. I couldn't exercise the way I want to. I was like, exactly. I'd literally spend the weekend just in bed, moping around, feeling, you know, sorry for myself because I felt like the world was ending for me because my identity was wrapped in it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the beginning. And
yeah,
you were lucky that you were able to pull it back. And there's a lot of people that they maybe don't have the support of those around them, or they're too embarrassed to ask, or they just don't know that help is available, or, you know, it's a big thing. It's like when your pride and your dignity kind of go out the window, it's massive, and it's not nice. It's not a nice position to be in. You know, these people, it's taken them weeks, months, years to get into this situation. And so for them, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. There is no reversing it. But actually, when you're looking at it from the outside, and if it's nothing to do with you, it's very easy to reverse these things. And it's very easy to show somebody that there is light at the end of the tunnel. But it's all very easy for us to say from the outside looking in. It's when you're in that period of ill mental health, obviously you can't see it yourself.
No. So what would you recommend then for, so I suppose that there's like two avenues, isn't it, for people who have I was going to say like better mental health, but in like a healthier state with their mental health, like how do they improve their mess? And then how would someone who is going, you know, their mental health is dipping, like how would they start the process of improving?
Yeah. So I think for people who feel like they can do something about it and it's not got too drastic yet. It's about just allotting a set amount of time, which is a decent amount of time. So I would say, because you need to make enough of an inroad that you see a difference. Otherwise, it doesn't encourage you to carry on. So obviously, it depends how much mess there is. But, you know, pick a room, an hour, 2 hours, however long you think it's going to take. You know, block that out of your diaries and put some music on. Music is the answer to everything. Make yourself a playlist, put the radio on, put a podcast on, do whatever, so that something is there accompanying you, filling the void, because you can get sucked into this void of negativity if you don't watch it. So it's much better to make it more enjoyable, and just give it a good run. Choose what you're doing. Don't be like all scattergun about it. It's like pick a space, go at it until it's done. And then you will very, very quickly see the results. But more than anything, you'll feel the results. And it's that feeling that we want to encapsulate. It's that's important. And once you realize how much better it makes you feel, it'll just encourage you, and you'll have tipped from the negative cycle into the positive, and then you just keep going because you can see how much better it's making you feel, how much better it's making everybody else feel. It's just changing the atmosphere in the house. It's just all positive.
So it's like a springboard, isn't it?
Yeah,
essentially. Yeah.
It is. And then if you are suffering with your mental health and it just seems to be too big a mountain to climb, then you need to ask for help. I would say possibly not a family member. If there is a close friend or somebody you don't even know that well, sometimes that can work.
I suppose it's that non-judgmental, isn't it? Because they don't know you at all.
It's a lot easier for people to be honest with you if they're not involved with you emotionally in any way, shape, or form. So if there is somebody that you can trust that you would invite into your home, because it is embarrassing. People are seeing you in your worst state. And you probably haven't had friends and family around for a long time because you're embarrassed about how you're living. And just get that person to help you make a start, because that's all you can do. Making a start sometimes is enough, because once you make a start, that door opens into the future and you realize that actually there is another way and that it is possible. Half of what I do is a bit of counselling really as I'm going along, because it's just about guiding people through the process and giving them permission to let go of the past, because a lot of the stuff that's in their homes is kind of shackling them to the past. And if they can just let the stuff go, then they can move forwards.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that as well, because like you say, a lot of the time, especially with mental health, it's ruminating on the past or reliving stuff and replaying it in our minds, and
it's not helpful at the end of the day. And sometimes you can feel like a prisoner in your own home because you're a prisoner of the stuff that's in it, which is an absolutely absurd concept because it's just inanimate objects. But because everything in your home has some kind of emotional value, or you tell yourself that it does, it is all about, like I said, giving yourself permission to let things go on another journey. It's not about throwing things away. It's about reframing it and saying, okay, so I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't love it. Therefore, somebody else might.
I love that. Such a nicer way of something that springs to mind is Toy Story.
Exactly.
With is it the third movie where Andy's like in this university and then donates the toys to his neighbour's kid, and it just, like you said, it's a nicer way of seeing it. And I'd imagine, depending on how much emotional attachment there is to the thing, makes it more difficult to let it go. So I'd imagine, is there some where you've had people who have had relatives pass away and they've kept, is that more difficult to let go of?
Not really. Not when you have those conversations and when you explain to people that actually it's that item, whatever it may be, is not what embodies their relationship with that person. And as soon as you sort of put that into words and let it out there into the universe, they're like, you're right. I don't really like it anyway. And so, it's about there's very few things that people are emotional about. Like it may be jewelry or, ashes, and, there may be a piece of furniture, something that somebody's passed on to you and you absolutely love. And that's absolutely fine. That thing should have pride of place and it should be celebrated. But the other things, that it's not that you want to keep them, you just can't get rid of them. And that phrase, I can't get rid of it, that's the bit that we're telling ourselves it's because it's too emotional, because that is what links us to that person. And it's not, because that's in here and it's in here. And, if It's going to be, you're going to feel it as a loss getting rid of this thing. Take a picture of it. You know, you can make yourself a little memory book of these things, but let somebody else love that thing. Let it make a difference to somebody else's life. Don't be guilted into keeping things just because you think you should.
So do you think it's partly as well that although that person has passed away, that they're also concerned of what they would think if they were to get rid of it as well?
Absolutely. And in a lot of cases, you know, that person may not even know that you've got the item because you may have chosen it from their house, or they may have gifted it to you like years ago. And I mean, I've seen lots of people go, oh, I can't get rid of that because Auntie Susan gave me it, and it, you know, she'd know. And it's like, Auntie Susan won't remember giving you that. she will not come round and go, oh, where's that vase that's, you know, on that shelf on the stairs? No, you know, we think that everything we have is so important to other people, and actually it isn't. And it shouldn't be. It should be important to you. So it's about being intentional. Intentional is a key word, and it's being intentional and actually having a conversation with yourself about what you actually need and what you actually love. I think it was William Morris that said you shouldn't have nothing in your home that you know not to be beautiful or useful. And it's pretty much that.
Yeah. I was going to say, you've nailed it on the head, because at the end of the day, you're coming home, aren't you, to your sanctuary, your place of rest. You know,
and the key word there is your. That's the key word. It's yours. It's not anybody else's.
No.
So if you have a house filled with other people's stuff, that's not your house, and it doesn't represent who you are. You know, you should choose very carefully what you have in your home, and choose it so that it represents you, so that you can live your best life, so that you are the best version of you.
Definitely. So if someone's going to go about being more intentional, and so they've let go, they've got rid of some of the stuff, they're going to be more intentional about the choose, and like, what are some of the questions that you'd suggest that they ask themselves when they're going to purchase something or put into the house?
Well, I think before that point, you kind of need to take a step back and just look at your home. Try and look at it as if through objective eyes, which is very difficult. But what I say to people is go out the front door and come into your home, because not many people use the front door, to be fair. Usually going in and out the back door. So come in the front door and imagine what you want your journey to be like through your house. So how do you want your house to function? You know, when you come in the front door, do you want to put your keys down there? Is there somewhere there to put them or not? You know, do you bang your shins against something in the hallway every day? Then it shouldn't be there. Just have an idea of what you're feeling as you're walking through the house into the various rooms. What do you want to be doing in that room? How do you want to be doing it? When do you want to be doing it? And what can you introduce that would make that possible? Or what can you take away that would make that possible? So it's not necessarily about going and buying stuff or replacing stuff. It's just looking at how you want to live from now going forwards. It's not about looking backwards. It's about thinking, right, how does my family unit want to function now? Because we're not the same as we were 5 years ago. Things have changed, things have evolved, relationships have changed, evolved. They may have broken down, they may have joined forces with others. But quite often the house hasn't changed at all. And so you can't possibly be the best version of yourselves. Your house does not serve you now because it's the house of 5 years ago. So it's about just trying to take a step back, which is really super difficult because it's your house and it's full of your stuff. But if you imagine like you were going to view the house for the first time, as if you'd never seen it, and you were imagining the life that you would lead in this house if you could, what does that look like? And as you're moving around the house, how does that feel? And then going forward, it's about being intentional. So it is about doing things now and not leaving them for later, because the only people that you're disappointing are yourselves. It's like you always use the example I've told you before about leaving stuff on the stairs. It's the archetype where people leave stuff on the stairs in the hope that somebody else will take it up the stairs. And they never will, because once you put them in the void of the stairs, it becomes completely invisible and people will walk over it, through it, round it, whatever, but they will not take it up those stairs. And why? Because they didn't put it there in the first place. You did. So when you see that thing still on the stairs, like 3 hours later, you just get annoyed because nobody's taken it up the stairs, when actually it was you that left it there. So you take it up the stairs. So instead of leaving the thing on the stairs, just take it straight up the stairs, and then you feel like you've achieved something, and you're saving yourself that disappointment and annoyance later. And it's about that. It's about doing the action now to save yourself the negative consequences later. And yes, it is boring, but you will get, there are many more benefits from actually taking action in the moment to leaving stuff for later.
It's like you said before, where it comes down to, if you're putting stuff off, then it's just in the back of your mind. You may not be consciously thinking of it, but something needs to be done.
Yeah.
And then that's just taking away your energy. So you could actually be tired.
Yeah.
Or making yourself more tired by not actually doing it.
And it's like exactly like we were saying about going to the gym. When you finish at the gym, you're energized because you've taken action, you've done something positive, you feel better physically. And it's exactly the same in your home. By taking action and giving yourself a chance at a nice place to live that looks like you want it to look. And it makes people act differently. People will communicate differently. It's just, there's literally no negatives. The only negatives there are the ones you're telling yourself. You're telling yourself stories. And by being more intentional, you stop that, because you're actually just doing instead of putting it off for later.
No, I love that. And I'm just conscious of time. There was one area I wanted to touch on before we did finish up, and that was, coming back to the mental health side of, there's different spectrums, and I feel like there's a spectrum with regards to tidying as well. So you can be ultra messy on one side, and then you could also be overly clean on another, and how that again comes into mental health as well.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I've said before that I almost worry as much about people who are too tidy and too clean as much as people who are too messy and too untidy and not so clean. It is all a reflection of people's mental health. And I know we've spoken about this before, but at some point I would really like to do a study about whether it is nature or nurture, because I've had loads of interesting conversations with people who they can be quite tidy, and then they'll have a sibling who's absolutely chaotic, or they can be just normally messy, and then they'll have a sibling who is bordering on OCD. And it's really interesting to see whether it is sort of, do you take after your parents, or do you go the opposite way, or how does it work that one sibling goes one way and the other goes the other? And obviously mental health comes into play, and we're all on our own journeys, and we all have different life experiences that affect us. So even two siblings, they've been brought up the same way, but they both had their different journeys on the mental health spectrum, and it's just it's fascinating.
Yeah, no, it really is. I suppose as well, not just with regards to the different siblings, but I think in different areas of life as well. You can be more, controlling in one area than you are in another, or more clean like maybe at work than you are at home.
Yeah.
Or so.
But I think what one feeds into the other, definitely. And I've seen firsthand what happens when you become more intentional at home. That feeds into other areas of your life, and you become more intentional at work, because it's just a habit. Like we were saying before, it's like, you know, like a health habit, it's a mental health habit. And it really does change the way that you live your life. And it is just something that you just, you know, you almost have to train yourself to do. But when you start seeing the benefits, though, you realize that it really is, you know, it's worth it, and it's actually not much effort. And the more that you make an effort in your home, the more headspace you create. And who doesn't want more headspace?
Exactly. I think we all need more headspace. But just want to say, so I've got one last question to ask, which is, from everything that we talked about today, what is one small action step or golden nugget that you'd like the viewers to take away with them from our chat today?
I would say just being intentional, I think, is the one thing that everybody can do. You know, you don't need anything, you know, you don't need to buy anything to do that. You don't, you know, you just need to have a little word with yourself and just motivate yourself to just do those little things, like make your bed in the morning. You know, tell the universe that you're ready and that this is you. You're going to be organized for the day, and this is how you're going to start the day. And then just go on from there, and just little baby steps. Just do things that make you happy in the moment, and just do things. Just take action and do things. And every little thing that you do will make a difference to how you feel, and that's what's important.
Definitely. Well, thank you again for coming on, and I hope everyone watching has enjoyed it. I see that we don't have any questions, but maybe we may have some from the replay. So again, if you are catching the replay, like, please feel free to leave a comment, and we will get in touch and answer them when we can. And if you're not following Rachel yet, please do follow her now. You know, you've just
the other day, we are very similar. We're both called Rachel. Our names begin with an S. We both wear glasses. But we do talk about very, very similar stuff, and we do look at things in similar ways, don't we? It's just you're more the physical, I'm more the mental.
Yes, totally. But yeah, if you're not following Rachel, please do follow her. And is there any other way that they can get in contact with you, or is LinkedIn the best way?
I've got a website, clutteristheenemy.co.uk, and I'm always on Facebook. There's always some good before and after shots. Everybody likes the before and after shot. All the socials.
All the socials. Amazing. Well, thank you again.
And, thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Anytime.
Do it
again. But yeah, and hope everyone enjoyed it. And like I said, if you've got any further questions or comments, please do get in touch, and we'll be happy to answer them. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and till next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.